The galaxy had rules. Some were written in ancient treaties carved into crystal moons. Others were unspoken, enforced by fleets and fear. One of those rules was simple. Small species kneel. Humans did not. They were discovered late, on the edge of mapped space, orbiting a yellow star that most galactic charts ignored. Their world was loud with radio noise, clumsy satellites, and chemical rockets that still burned fire like primitives. The Virex Dominion noticed them first. The Virex were old. Older than most stars humans could see. Their empire stretched across 13 sectors, ruled by cold logic and absolute hierarchy. They did not hate humans. They simply did not consider them important. In the High Council chamber of Virex Prime, the image of Earth rotated slowly above a black glass floor. Blue oceans. White clouds. Green scars of continents. Classification? Asked Overlord Shakor, his voice like metal grinding stone. A thin, many-eyed analyst replied, pre-FTL species. Divided governments. Nuclear weapons present. No unified planetary command. Another counselor clicked its mandibles. Primitive aggression patterns. They will destroy themselves within 3 centuries. Shakor tilted his elongated head. Then why are we discussing them? The analyst hesitated. They launched a probe beyond their system. It crossed a Dominion border buoy. A ripple of mild amusement moved through the chamber. Shakor waved a claw. Send a compliance envoy. Standard kneeling protocol. That was how it always began. The Virex envoy arrived above Earth without warning. A black pyramid ship unfolded from hyperspace, eclipsing the sun for half the planet. Ocean shifted. Tide screamed. Every telescope on Earth turned upward. Panic spread faster than any virus. The ship transmitted on every frequency at once. This world is claimed by the Virex Dominion. You will disarm. You will submit. You will be spared. On Earth, leaders gathered in emergency chambers. Some prayed. Some argued. Some demanded retaliation. One woman did not panic. Admiral Lena Orloff, commander of Earth's Orbital Defense Network, stood silently watching the ship. They didn't ask, she said calmly. A general snapped back, they don't have to. Orloff folded her arms. That's their mistake. The Virex waited exactly 6 minutes. Then they fired. Not a planet killer. Not yet. Just a demonstration. A focused energy beam carved a glowing line across the Pacific Ocean, boiling water into steam visible from orbit. Kneel, the envoy repeated. Earth did not kneel. Instead, a reply went out, short, human, and unpolished. This is Earth. You are trespassing. Leave. The Virex envoy paused. That pause was recorded in Dominion history as the first error. The retaliation was swift. Orbital platforms were destroyed in seconds. Satellites died like sparks. Human missiles failed against shields older than human civilization. The Virex believed the lesson was complete. They did not land troops. They did not glass cities. They left a single message behind. You have one standard cycle to prepare for integration. Then they departed. On Virex Prime, the Council moved on to more important matters. Trade disputes, border skirmishes, succession politics. Humans were filed under inevitable compliance. They never saw what happened next. Earth changed overnight. Borders softened. Old enemies sat at the same tables. Militaries merged. Research budgets exploded. Arguments ended with one sentence. They're coming back. Admiral Orloff addressed the newly formed United Earth Council. We cannot outgun them, she said. So we don't. A delegate shouted. Then what do we do? Orloff's eyes were steady. We learn faster than they expect. Human scientists tore apart alien energy signatures from battle debris. Engineers rewrote physics assumptions. AI systems were uncaged in order to think like enemies. Most importantly, humans stopped thinking like victims. They studied Virex culture, hierarchy, and doctrine. They learned one critical truth. The Virex believed superiority was permanent. Humans knew better. In hidden shipyards carved into asteroids and deep oceans, something new was born. Not beautiful. Not elegant. Efficient. Adaptive. Ruthless. 1 year later, the Virex returned. Their fleet arrived confident and ceremonial. 5 warships, enough to frighten any minor species into surrender. Instead, they found Earth surrounded by unfamiliar vessels. Angular. Modular. Covered in strange emissions that made Virex sensors scream. The human transmission came instantly. We have reviewed your offer, Admiral Orloff said. And we decline. Shakor watched the feed in disbelief. That is impossible, he whispered. Behind the human fleet, something else powered up. A weapon the galaxy had never seen. And humanity fired first. The Virex fleet hung in orbit like black gods, ancient and confident. 5 warships. Each one larger than Earth's oldest cities. Their hulls glowed with layered shields, refined over tens of thousands of years. They had crushed rebellions, erased species, and ended wars before they began. They expected surrender. Instead, human ships moved. They did not form neat lines or ceremonial formations. They spread outward like a swarm, breaking into unpredictable vectors. Some accelerated hard, others drifted slowly. Virex targeting systems struggled to assign priority. Shakur's claws tightened around the command rail. Fire warning barrage, he ordered. Disable their lead vessel. Virex cannons charged, releasing beams of focused stellar energy. Space bent. Radiation screamed. The beams passed through the human formation. Missed. Not by chance. Human ships flickered, vanished for microseconds, then reappeared elsewhere. Not true hyperspace. Something rougher. Dangerous. The Virex sensors wailed. What are they doing? Demanded a Virex tactician. Before anyone answered, space exploded. Human weapons were not beams. They were storms. Thousands of kinetic projectiles accelerated to near-light speed, wrapped in shifting fields that confused shields. Some shattered. Others slipped through microscopic gaps no one had ever bothered to defend. One Virex warship lost its forward shield. For the first time in centuries, a Dominion vessel bled. A human captain laughed over an open channel. Shields fail when you stop upgrading them. The Virex returned fire in fury. One human ship vanished in a burst of plasma. Another was torn in half. But something was wrong. Every time a human ship died, the others adapted. Their movement patterns changed. Their weapons retuned mid-battle. Virex commanders felt like they were fighting a living mind instead of a fleet. Shakur realized the truth too late. These are not prototypes, he hissed. They trained for this. On Earth, Admiral Lena Orloff watched the battle in silence. A young officer whispered, "We're losing ships." Orloff nodded. "Yes." "Then why aren't you ordering a retreat?" Orloff leaned forward. "Because we're not here to win," she said. "We're here to be remembered." She opened a secure channel. Execute Phase 2. Deep behind the human lines, something unfolded. A massive structure, hidden until now, shed its camouflage. Rings of machinery spun, glowing with unstable light. Virex analysts froze in terror. That device, it's folding local space. The human weapon fired, not at ships but at distance itself. A gravity well bloomed, artificial and precise. 2 Virex warships were caught mid-maneuver. Their ancient engines fought, screamed and failed. Space crushed them inward. One imploded. The other tore itself apart trying to escape. Silence followed. Then panic. No species below Tier 3 can manipulate spacetime like this. A Virex commander shrieked. Shakur stared at the tactical display, his certainty collapsing. They were supposed to kneel, he whispered. Across the galaxy, sensors noticed. Trade hubs paused shipments. Border fleets went to alert status. Whispers spread through subspace channels. Humans fought the Virex, and survived. That alone was impossible. That they destroyed Dominion warships? Unthinkable. In the Krell Syndicate, a reptilian warlord watched the footage with fascination. "They fight like prey that learned to hunt," he growled. In the Aurelian Concord, golden-skinned diplomats exchanged uneasy glances. "If the Virex can bleed," one said softly, "so can we all." The battle above Earth raged for hours. Human losses mounted, but every death bought data. Every explosion taught their systems how Virex weapons behaved. By the end, human ships moved as if they could predict the future. Shakur ordered retreat. The words tasted like ash. As the Virex fleet fled into hyperspace, a human message followed them. Not a threat. A warning. "You came to make us kneel," Orloff said. "You failed. Next time we will come to you." The transmission cut. Shakur sagged against his throne. For the first time in his long life he felt fear, not of defeat but of change. On Earth, celebrations did not erupt. Cities still burned from orbital strikes. Millions were dead. The sky was filled with debris and ash. Orloff stood alone in the command chamber. A council member approached. They ran. "We won." Orloff shook her head slowly. "No," she said. "We survived." She looked at the stars. "And now the galaxy knows our name." Far away on Virex Prime, Emergency alarms echoed through crystal halls. The High Council convened in chaos. This must be contained, one counselor demanded. Erase them. Shakur raised his claw. No, he said quietly. That will not work. All eyes turned to him. He spoke words that would shatter galactic history. Humans are not a minor species, Shakur said. They are a rival civilization. The chamber fell silent. And somewhere in the darkness between stars, humanity prepared not to kneel, but to advance. The galaxy did not sleep after the Battle of Earth. It whispered. Subspace channels flooded with fragments of combat data, distorted sensor logs, and terrified Virex emergency transmissions. For thousands of years, the balance of power had been stable. Old empires ruled. Young species obeyed. Now a young species had said no, and survived. In the neutral system of Talaris Reach, representatives of a dozen civilizations gathered in secret. The station itself was ancient, carved into the hollowed shell of a dead world. Its halls glowed with soft biolight and distrust. The Aurelian Concord arrived first, radiant and careful. The Krell Syndicate followed, warships bristling with weapons. The Mir Collective arrived last, their hive minds humming with cold curiosity. A hologram of Earth rotated in the center of the chamber. They should not exist at this level, said an Aurelian diplomat, her golden eyes narrowing. They were pre-FTL less than a century ago. They are aggressive, hissed a Krell warlord. They taste blood and will want more. A mere voice echoed from many mouths at once. They adapt faster than any known pattern. This is interesting. The question hung in the air. What do we do about the humans? On Earth, Admiral Lena Orloff faced a different council. The United Earth Council was united in name only. Fear cracked every voice. They'll come back with a real fleet, one delegate warned. They'll glass us, said another. Orloff stood, projecting calm she did not feel. Yes, she said. They will. Silence followed. Which is why we don't wait. A murmur spread through the chamber. You want to attack the Virex? Someone asked. Orloff shook her head. No. We want to break their certainty. She brought up a star map. The Virex rule through fear and routine. Their fleets move on predictable cycles. Their allies obey because rebellion has always failed. She looked around the room. We are going to prove that rebellion works. The first human offensive did not target a world. It targeted logistics. Human strike groups slipped through unstable hyperspace corridors the Virex considered unsafe. Ships emerged in places no one guarded. Fuel depots vanished. Relay stations went dark. Automated shipyards were sabotaged from the inside by infiltrator drones guided by human AI. The attacks were small, precise, relentless. Virex commanders raged, unable to predict where the next strike would fall. They do not fight with honor, a Virex admiral snarled. Shakur listened silent. They fight to win, he replied. Other species noticed the pattern. The Krell Syndicate tested human defenses with a probing raid. They lost 2 cruisers and gained something worse than defeat. Respect. The Aurelian Concord sent observers instead of soldiers. They watched human engineers rebuild damaged ships in days instead of years. They saw civilians volunteer for rationing, labor, and service without protest. These humans endure loss, an Aurelian envoy reported, and become stronger from it. In the Mir Collective, trillions of minds process the data. Conclusion forming, the hive intoned. Humans represent a disruptive variable. Probability of galactic reordering, increasing. Shakur faced growing pressure within the Dominion. You underestimated them, accused a rival counselor. Shakur did not deny it. But they are still small, another argued. Crush them now. Shakur raised his claw again. Do not confuse size with danger, he said. They learn from pain. Every blow we strike teaches them how to strike back harder. The chamber buzzed with unease. What do you propose? Demanded the overcounselor. Shakur's voice lowered. We isolate them. Turn the galaxy against them. Make them fight everyone. The trap was elegant. Virex diplomats spread rumors. Humans were expansionists. Humans destroyed neutral stations. Humans experimented on captured aliens. False evidence was planted. Old grievances were stirred. Soon, small powers began closing their borders to human ships. Trade collapsed. Fuel grew scarce. On Earth, unrest began to rise. A council member confronted Orloff. The galaxy thinks we're monsters. Orloff nodded slowly. Good, she said. The room froze. They're afraid enough to listen now, Orloff continued. So we show them who we really are. She authorized the release of human battle recordings, unedited, human casualty lists, civilian death counts, medical footage, human ships rescuing alien crews from wreckage, even enemies. The galaxy saw something new. Humanity bled, and still chose restraint. The turning point came at Narek's fall. A Virex-controlled mining world rebelled, inspired by human resistance. The Dominion responded with orbital bombardment. Human ships arrived first. Outnumbered, outgunned. They positioned themselves between the planet and the Virex fleet. A Virex commander transmitted in disbelief. "You defend traitors?" Admiral Orloff's reply was steady. "We defend lives." The battle was brutal. 3 human ships were destroyed holding the line. But evacuation corridors stayed open. Millions escaped. When the Virex fleet withdrew, the mining world still stood. Across the galaxy, something shifted. The species that refused to kneel had knelt only once. To protect others. In Talaris Reach, the secret council reconvened. The Krell warlord slammed his clawed fist down. "I will not fight them," he growled. "I will not fight beside the Virex." The Aurelian diplomat nodded. "Nor will we." The mere collective spoke last. Alliance probability, acceptable. The word echoed. Alliance. On Earth, Orloff received the transmission. She closed her eyes for a moment. Then she smiled. Shakor watched the same message arrive at Virex Prime. The Dominion was no longer feared. It was challenged. And humanity was no longer alone. The galaxy burned quietly at first. Not with the blaze of destruction but with tension. Every fleet that moved, every planet that trembled under rumors, every trade convoy that vanished sparked fear and uncertainty. The humans were no longer alone, yet they remained underestimated. Allies gathered, species who had long suffered under the Dominion's rule, but old grudges ran deep. Trust was fragile. And in the dark corridors of power, betrayal festered like a hidden wound. On Earth, Admiral Lena Orloff convened a meeting unlike any before. The United Earth Council now included representatives from allied species. The Krell, the Aurelians, and even a handful of mere delegates, their hive minds filtering thought into words. "We fight not just for survival," Orloff said, pointing at a hollow map of Dominion space, "but to show the galaxy what it means to challenge an empire that believes it is eternal." A Krell general hissed, claws clicking against the table. "We have not forgotten Narek. But we are not naive. The Virex are cunning. They will strike where we are weakest." Orloff's eyes gleamed. "Which is why we will not fight them where they expect us. We will fracture their assumptions. Every move they anticipate will be a lie. Every advantage they assume will vanish." From that moment a plan was born. A campaign of deception, subterfuge, and audacity. The humans would not merely fight, they would rewrite the rules of war. In Virex Prime, Overlord Shakor paced in the High Council chamber. His claws tapped against the polished black glass floor, each echo a drumbeat of rising panic. "The humans grow too bold," a counselor accused. "They manipulate our allies, sabotage our infrastructure, and survive every strike. They are more than a nuisance, they are a virus." Shakor's elongated head swiveled slowly. "Then we adapt." He looked over the council. "Or we fail. Assemble the 8th Armada. Full-scale engagement. Break them before they unify the galaxy against us." Unknown to Shakor, not all counselors agreed. Whispers of mutiny circulated. Some saw the humans as a sign, a threat to the Virex hegemony that even the Dominion could not contain. Others quietly admired humanity's audacity, secretly wondering if the galaxy had grown too comfortable under Virex rule. The first strike of the full-scale war was swift and merciless. The 8th Armada surged through hyperspace near the Serpentis Corridor, a critical supply line for human allied species. Human intelligence had predicted it. Orloff had ordered small decoy fleets to appear as main forces, drawing the Virex into narrow gaps between asteroid fields. When the 8th Armada engaged, they discovered themselves trapped. Human ships emerged from hiding in perfect vectors, attacking with coordinated precision. Energy beams bounced unpredictably, kinetic missiles twisted through microgravity, and shield manipulations rendered Virex weapons almost useless. The battle was brutal. Human ships were destroyed, but every loss served a purpose. Each vessel's destruction taught the fleet how to counter Virex tactics. Each sacrifice became a lesson encoded into AI systems. In the span of hours, the humans did not just survive, they outsmarted a Virex armada. In orbit above Iloth Prime, an allied Aurelian fleet watched the battle unfold. Golden hulls gleamed in the dying light of a red star. They adapt too quickly, the Aurelian admiral whispered. Every feint, every trap, it becomes irrelevant before it ends. These humans, they are evolution incarnate. The Krell general beside him growled, tentacles curling. If the Virex lose here, the galaxy will never forgive them. And that was the point. Humanity's strategy was not just to fight, it was to inspire rebellion. Every victory, no matter how small, was broadcast across neutral space. Star systems that had cowered under Dominion rule began to question loyalty. Smugglers refused to carry Dominion cargo. Governors ignored commands. Entire fleets delayed deployment. The ripple of human audacity spread farther than any weapon. But war is never simple. Within human ranks, dissent brewed. Civilians forced into evacuation fleets complained of endless sacrifice. Young officers questioned the morality of sending allies into near-suicidal decoys. Orloff listened to every voice, weighing fear and anger against necessity. Her answer was unwavering. The Virex cannot be understood like other enemies. They anticipate compliance. They thrive on assumptions. If we fight them as they expect, we fail. Every life lost teaches the galaxy, including us. And every life saved shows the difference between them and humanity. Even the mere delegates, often unemotional, acknowledged the calculus. Adaptive aggression exceeds predictive models, one said quietly. The humans are apex predators of strategy. Orloff allowed herself a faint smile. Not of pride, but of acknowledgement. The galaxy was learning, and humanity was leading the lesson. Meanwhile, in the Virex High Council, cracks widened. Councillor Sharel, a schemer who had long envied Shakor's rise, saw opportunity. If the humans survive, the Dominion will fracture. If they perish, we can blame Shakor for miscalculations. The seeds of betrayal were sown. Within weeks, covert factions began subtly undermining the Eighth Armada's supply chains. Communications were jammed. Strategic orders were delayed. Shakor sensed the instability but could not yet identify the culprit. In the shadows, humanity's spies, engineered AI probes capable of slipping past Dominion sensors, observed the fissures forming. They fed this intelligence back to Orloff. Knowledge of internal discord became a weapon of its own. Humanity would not only fight the Dominion. They would weaponize its arrogance and infighting. The war was no longer about ships or planets. It was about ideas, strategy, fear, hope, and the audacity of a species that refused to kneel. By the time the Eighth Armada regrouped, the Dominion had already begun to fracture. Allies of convenience defected or hesitated. The humans had done what no one thought possible. They had turned the galaxy's eyes toward themselves, proving that even the oldest empire could be challenged, and that a single species, small, flawed, and underestimated, could command the attention of the stars. Admiral Orloff stood on the bridge of USS Resolute, watching debris from the battle drift across the void. War is only beginning, she whispered. But they will remember us. They will remember that humans never kneel. And far across the void, the Virex Prime shuddered with the first tremors of rebellion, from within and without. The galaxy burned quietly, but inside the Virex Dominion, chaos raged like a supernova. The Eighth Armada had retreated to lick its wounds, but it was no longer whole. Some ships had been sabotaged from within. Supplies had vanished. Strategic orders had been corrupted. The humans had exploited cracks that had existed for decades, and now those cracks were widening into chasms. Shakor's claws drummed relentlessly against the glass floor of the High Council chamber. His elongated eyes flicked to every counselor, searching for signs of loyalty. Trust had become a dangerous illusion. Councillor Sharel, whose ambitions had always simmered beneath polite deference, spoke softly. The humans are clever, yes, but they are far from invincible. Strike at their core, we can still contain them. Shakor's voice was low, but it carried steel. Containment is no longer an option. They have allies. Neutral systems watch them. Every misstep we take strengthens them. We must adapt, or perish. Sharel's lips curled. He had already begun his own plan in secret. If the humans could topple Virex stability, he would rise above the ashes. On Earth, Admiral Lena Orloff prepared her fleet for the most daring operation yet. This is no longer defensive, she told her assembled commanders. We strike at the heart of the Dominion, deep inside Virex space. Not just to fight them, but to fracture them completely. The operation was audacious. A small, highly adaptive strike fleet would infiltrate Dominion-controlled hyperspace, targeting key supply depots, communication hubs, and planetary strongholds. Each attack would be surgical, leaving the illusion of chaos and unpredictability. A young officer asked, voice tight with tension. Admiral, what if we are discovered? Orlov's gaze was steady. Then we ensure that discovery is only the beginning of their fear. Human engineers had designed new ships for this mission. Silent, modular, and capable of adaptive cloaking. Each vessel carried experimental weapons that would not only destroy but confuse and manipulate Dominion sensors, feeding disinformation into the Virex networks. It was audacity taken to its highest form, and only humans could conceive such a plan. Deep within Virex space, Shakur's nightmare began. The strike fleet emerged like shadows across key supply routes. Refineries erupted into firestorms. Relay stations flickered out. Automated factories self-destructed in moments, leaving the Dominion scrambling to patch holes that seemed to multiply. Virex commanders, trained for millennia, were unable to anticipate the new threat. Every attempt to organize counterstrikes failed, every sensor readout became unreliable, and every communication line seemed poisoned by the humans' cunning. Shakur realized he was fighting a species that not only survived but learned faster than he could adapt. At the same time, Counselor Sharel enacted his plan. Secretly, he began redirecting key Virex fleets to dead ends, sabotaging supply chains and spreading misinformation. The Dominion's failure was no longer entirely external. Its rot was internal. Shakur recognized the treachery too late. Half of the 8th Armada's reinforcements were delayed or lost. Sharel's fingerprints were invisible, yet the damage was unmistakable. In the council chamber, Shakur's voice shook for the first time. The humans are not our only problem. One of our own seeks power above the Empire itself. The council erupted in argument, claws snapping and voices rising. The Dominion, once a bastion of order and control, now teetered on the edge of civil war. Meanwhile, in orbit above Virex Prime, the human strike fleet executed its most daring move. The USS Resolute, Orlov's flagship, led a small group of vessels in a direct assault on a critical orbital command station, the nerve center of Dominion operations in the sector. Shields shimmered as Dominion cannons fired relentlessly, yet human tactics and adaptive cloaking rendered most attacks ineffective. Keep the pressure on, Orlov ordered, voice calm amid chaos. We do not destroy. We manipulate. Make them question every order, every report, every victory they think they have. Explosions ripped through the station, not to annihilate it completely, but to send carefully calculated ripples of panic through Dominion networks. Systems failed, false alarms triggered, and every Dominion officer faced the unnerving reality. They could not trust what they saw, what they heard, or what they believed. In the control room of the Resolute, Orlov transmitted a message to Virex Prime. Not a threat. Not a declaration of war. Your empire is faltering from within. You have one choice: adapt or watch it crumble. The galaxy will remember how you respond. The galaxy watched. Every neutral system, every minor species, every allied fleet tracked the operation. They saw a human strike fleet penetrating the Dominion's core with surgical precision. They saw chaos unfold without total destruction. They saw strategy, cunning, and audacity that no one had expected. Whispers of rebellion became plans. Hesitation became defiance. Even the Krell, notorious for their ruthlessness, paused raids to study human tactics. Even the mere collective, cold and calculating, admitted, humans were not just fighters, they were teachers of war itself. Shakur faced a decision that would haunt him for centuries. His empire was bleeding. His fleets were fractured. Internal treachery threatened to topple him. And the humans? They had not yet truly fought for their own survival, they had only shown the galaxy what they could do. I underestimated them, he murmured almost to himself. They do not kneel, and now the stars themselves bend to watch what they will do next. Above Virex Prime, explosions lit the darkness of space. The Dominion had survived the initial strikes, but the Empire's confidence was shattered. Inside its walls, fear spread faster than any virus, for the species that refused to kneel had struck where it hurt most, the pride of an ancient empire. And far beyond, in the quiet depths of Allied fleets, humans prepared for their next move, one that would ensure the galaxy could never see them as weak again. The galaxy held its breath. The Dominion had survived human strikes, but its control was cracking like ice underfoot. Shakur, once a symbol of unyielding order, now faced rebellion from both within and without. The humans were no longer on the defensive. They were dictating the tempo of war. Admiral Lena Orlov stood on the bridge of the USS Resolute, staring at a hollow map of Dominion space. Concentric rings of light showed supply depots, fleet movements, and planetary strongholds. Red areas indicated damage inflicted by prior strikes. Blue regions were still under Dominion control, but even they were vulnerable. Phase Delta begins tonight, Orloff said, her voice calm but firm. We strike the heart of the Dominion. Not just with ships, but with every ounce of strategy, deception, and intelligence we have accumulated. This is the moment we turn fear into dominance. A young officer hesitated. Admiral, this could be our most dangerous mission yet. The fleet is smaller than theirs. The stations are heavily fortified. Orloff's eyes glimmered. And that is exactly why it will succeed. They expect us to attack directly. We will attack their assumptions instead. Every allied species watched silently, waiting for the humans to lead. Krell warships adjusted course. Aurelian cruisers formed screening formations. Even the mere delegates contributed AI-assisted fleet maneuvers. The galaxy was holding its breath, and humans had become the exhalation that would shatter Dominion certainty. Meanwhile, Shakor sensed the storm coming. 8th Armada, converge on the outer rim, he ordered. We will cut them off before they reach the capital sectors. But he did not realize that half of his officers were already working against him. Counselor Sharell had secretly redirected fleets to ineffective positions, sabotaged communications, and sent false battle reports to Shakor. Every order the Overlord issued was twisted into a disadvantage. For the first time in millennia, a Virex fleet hesitated. And hesitation is deadly against humans. The attack began in the dead of Virex night. Human strike groups emerged from hidden hyperspace corridors, slipping past Dominion pickets like shadows. Some ships carried high-yield kinetic weapons designed to disable starports, while others projected false fleet signatures across Dominion sensors. Every movement was calculated to create confusion, panic, and misdirection. At Virex Prime, orbital defenses fired relentlessly. Energy beams carved lines across the black sky. Missiles screamed through space. But human ships moved unpredictably, flickering through microjumps that Virex sensors could barely track. The first wave hit a command station orbiting Nirith Prime. Explosions erupted in patterns calculated to overload Dominion AI and scramble communications. Within minutes, a chain reaction disabled nearby defense satellites. Dominion commanders assumed multiple simultaneous attacks were underway. None suspected humans had orchestrated every strike. On the ground, the humans of allied species coordinated with intelligence cells planted months before. Dominion governors loyal to Sharell began switching allegiances. Systems once assumed secure now betrayed their masters from within. Shakor's voice echoed in his council chamber, sharp with rage. Impossible. Every fleet position, every supply line, corrupted. Sharell smiled quietly. You underestimated the humans and your own arrogance, Overlord, he said. Now watch your empire unravel. The council erupted into argument and chaos. Systems failed. Orders were ignored. Even Shakor's personal flagship lost coordination with the bulk of the 8th Armada. Humans exploited every moment, striking, retreating, and striking again, never allowing the Dominion to recover. Then came the decisive confrontation. At the Virex core cluster, Shakor personally commanded his remaining fleet. Hundreds of ships formed a wall of black metal and energy. The humans approached slowly, deliberately. They did not attack immediately, they baited, teased, and tested. Every micro-decision, every vector change, every shield adjustment was recorded by Dominion sensors. When the human assault finally hit, it was catastrophic. Ships moved with near-perfect coordination. Energy pulses overloaded Virex shields. Kinetic projectiles struck gaps deliberately created by human calculations. Adaptive AI directed each vessel with precision. And hidden within the fleet, a new weapon, the spatial manipulator developed in secret by human engineers, twisted space to disrupt Virex engines and navigation systems. One by one, Dominion vessels faltered. Some collided. Some imploded. Others surrendered, their crews confused, disoriented, and terrified by a species they had long considered inferior. In orbit above Virex Prime, Orloff issued the final command. Target the Council Hall. Disable power grids. Initiate Phase Omega. We do not annihilate, we reveal. Energy cascades rolled across the orbital platform, knocking out communications and collapsing critical infrastructure. Dominion counselors scrambled as automated doors sealed them in, unable to coordinate defense or escape. Shakor's voice broke over the comm. This is impossible. You cannot. Watch carefully, Orloff interrupted. This is how humans change the galaxy. With that, a final transmission broadcast to every Dominion system. every allied fleet, every neutral world. The species that refused to kneel has arrived. Adapt, resist, or be remembered as those who bowed to nothing. Silence followed. Then, across the galaxy, systems began to rise in revolt. The Virex Empire had survived for millennia, but it would never be the same. Its fleets were fractured. Its leadership betrayed from within. Its subjects emboldened by a species that refused to kneel. And humanity? Humanity had only begun to demonstrate its apex potential. From the ashes of a broken empire, one truth became clear. The galaxy had met a predator it could neither predict nor contain. And that predator was humanity. The galaxy was watching. For centuries, empires had ruled through fear. Alliances were brittle, betrayals commonplace, and civilizations that dared to rise were crushed before they could breathe. The Virex Dominion had been the apex of this order, until humans showed the universe a new paradigm. Intelligence, adaptability, and audacity combined into something no empire could calculate. Above Virex Prime, Admiral Lena Orloff stood on the bridge of the USS Resolute. The orbital space was a theater of chaos. Fires from collapsing stations painted the darkness in streaks of orange and violet. Dominion warships were scattered, some burning, some drifting, some surrendering. Orloff's voice was calm, yet carried across the fleet like steel. This is the moment we show the galaxy not just that we survive, but that we define survival. Move to secure the core cluster. Disable weapons, preserve infrastructure. We do not destroy what we may someday lead. Around her, allied species coordinated with near-perfect synchronization. Krell warships formed protective screens. Aurelian cruisers provided advanced targeting and repairs. Even the Mir delegates deployed AI-controlled drones that manipulated Dominion sensors to create confusion and fear. This was no longer a battle, it was a masterclass in strategy, deception, and apex warfare. Shakor's flagship hovered above the capital world. The Overlord, ancient and cunning, had never faced an enemy like this. Every strike, every maneuver, every countermeasure by the humans revealed a new depth of calculation. Impossible, he growled. They anticipate everything. Sharel, the traitor counselor, whispered from a hidden chamber, not everything. But your empire is finished, Shakor. Humanity's brilliance has done what centuries of fear could not. The Virex fleet, once ordered and unyielding, was now a chaotic scatter. Commanders argued. Systems failed. Internal sabotage had left the empire vulnerable at its core. Humanity did not simply attack, they orchestrated the collapse. The USS Resolute advanced to the Virex core command station. Orloff transmitted a single message across the Dominion network. Her voice was steady, unflinching, and unapologetically human. Overlords of the Virex Dominion, your empire stands fractured. Your fleets scatter. Your councils betray you. The galaxy watches. Humanity is not a species to bow, kneel, or wait for permission. We rise, adapt, survive, and lead. The choice is yours, cooperate or be remembered as those who bowed to nothing. The transmission echoed across hyperspace, reaching every ship, every colony, every fleet. A ripple of panic, awe, and admiration spread. Even Shakor, long accustomed to obedience and fear, felt it. For the first time he realized humans were not just strong, they were inevitable. The final engagement was swift and brutal, but surgical. Human ships disabled Dominion command networks. Strategic nodes were seized. Orbital weapon platforms were overridden or neutralized without unnecessary destruction. Humanity fought with efficiency, precision, and adaptability that no one in the galaxy had ever seen. The Dominion's finest vessels surrendered or fled. Sharel attempted to seize control of what remained, but even his coup failed. Without the cohesion of fleets and loyal governors, his betrayal was meaningless against a species that thought in patterns beyond his comprehension. Shakor finally transmitted his surrender. His words, though proud, carried the weight of inevitability. Humans, you have shown what we could not imagine. The Virex yield. Orloff's reply was simple. Yielded, not destroyed. We do not conquer. We teach the galaxy to survive. On the world's orbiting Virex Prime, celebrations erupted. Not of vengeance but of respect. Humans and allies had dismantled the Dominion's rule, not by annihilation, but by demonstrating superiority through strategy, unity, and adaptation. Across the galaxy, minor powers who had once bowed now began to rise. Rebel fleets gained confidence. Neutral systems opened to trade and alliance with humanity. Knowledge of the humans' victories inspired innovation, courage, and rebellion across the stars. Even the mere collective noted a new variable in their calculations. Krell fleets muttered in disbelief at the audacity of human tactics. The Aurelian Concord began revising centuries-old doctrines of diplomacy and warfare. Humanity had reshaped the galaxy, not with fire but with mind and will. Back on Earth, Orloff watched transmissions from liberated worlds. Humans had proven their apex capabilities: resilience, intelligence, cunning, and the courage to act when all seemed impossible. A young officer asked, "Admiral, did we win?" Orloff smiled faintly, looking at the stars. "We did more than win. We reminded the galaxy what it means to be human. We showed them that no species is ever too small to defy the impossible. That no empire is unassailable. That adaptability, courage, and intellect are the true apex of power." She paused, her eyes scanning the infinite stars. "And this is only the beginning." In the aftermath, the Virex Empire survived in fragments. Shakor, humbled and wary, became a cautionary tale among galactic powers. Sharel's ambitions were crushed, and the galaxy began to reorganize around new alliances, guided by the example of humanity. Humans did not occupy worlds. They did not enslave. They earned respect through unyielding strength, strategy, and ingenuity. Across space, one truth became undeniable: humanity would never kneel. Humanity would never bow. Humanity would shape the galaxy itself. And the galaxy would never forge.